Hello, world. I thought it would be fun to just do a quick rundown of the stocks I'm looking at for tomorrow. Just a heads up that every night I look through all the stocks I'm interested in and I put them on this watch list called Today. And then in the morning before the market opens, I see what happened since the pre market began. Some things might be gapping up, some things might not be where I expected them to be. And so I very quickly reanalyze and move things on and off the list in the morning. So heads up that just because it's on here doesn't mean that I'm going to be looking at it when the day comes tomorrow. It's going to depend on where the market opens in the morning. So with that in mind, here's the stuff I'm interested in. Now, we're going to start with IWM. This was the strongest move off the news on Friday. It rallied hard and then was basically sideways the rest of the day. Was pushing up in the after hours. It didn't close at the highs. I had been interested in this. If it had closed at fresh highs here, I would have actually bought it at the close, expecting it to gap up in the morning. Because it didn't do that. It's trickling. I don't know what to expect. For all I know, it could gap up in the morning, but it didn't. It wasn't the setup I was looking for. So I'm looking at it. I'm interested in it for tomorrow. It might stay in this gap or VWAP area. If it doesn't gap up, I'm going to move it down into anything over YLOD. Typically, what I do when I'm interested in something over YLOD is yesterday low of day. So I'm expecting it to basically stair step if it's in that list, and so I'm going to be watching in the morning, and we'll see. Because it was such a fast hard move up, we don't have an hourly high or low to play against or anything like that. I look at these, and on a stock like this is the major 30-minute resistance or support that you're going to have. So that's going to be the key support for the morning, and we'll see where we gap up or what. Yeah, a lot's going to depend on what happens in the morning. I think, I've heard a lot of different discussions about what might happen in the morning. Like maybe this was all a short covering rally, and if it was, then we might just fade it all back. I don't think it is for IWM, but we'll see. So that's IWM is the first one. That's a major one I'm looking at. Tesla. So Tesla was in this tightening range, and then here it had this resistance that it broke through, came down, and now it's set a higher low and has pushed and had that strong move up. So I'm looking at this on the 30-minute, and I'm thinking so if we do gap up on Tesla in the morning, I think this one-day VWAP will become the two-day VWAP, and could do something like this, right? And then say we gap up, price would be up here somewhere. I could see us pushing and then reversing and coming back and testing the two-day VWAP. At that point, the daily VWAP would come down like this, and then we'd bounce off the two-day, come back up, break through the one-day VWAP. And this would be the buy spot for me, looking for continuation of the upside. So it would be something like that would be my ideal setup, where I'm buying somewhere like that, and with a stop below the low of whatever this low ends up being here, and looking for continuation. So that's what I would ideally get for Tesla. I would not be interested in chasing a gap. That's the one thing I'll say. Actually, Tesla should be in the gap or VWAP. So that's what this means, gap or VWAP. If it's gapping, are you going to chase the gap or are you going to wait for VWAP? That's what that means. And so I always want to wait for VWAP, personally. Okay, next one is Amazon. Amazon, I did this sort of rough take of here's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And I think it got a little bit ahead of its skis here on this move. And so I think it would be really cool if this actually pulled in and then created a higher low over yesterday low of day. There is this little teeny tiny, I don't even think it's an hourly, it's just a 30-minute higher low. So all of those, like I said, all of those moves from Friday that were super strong, they didn't really build any supports along the way. So if there is a retracement, you don't really know where it's going to be. I think because there's no hourly higher low to play against or anything like that, you could expect that it's going to test the two-day VWAP from that began on Friday, and look for the 5-day here. This orange line is the 5-day simple moving average, which is curling down. I'd expect that to flatten out and start to curl up again, as some of these down days start to get pulled out of it. So down move, up move, a little bit of a higher low, and then a little bit of a higher high, higher low, and away. That's kind of what I would love to see here, and I would love to get involved tomorrow if I could. If there was a flush down that was holding above yesterday's, Friday's low of day, I'd be interested in that. And the way I would play it is, it depends on how it's happening, right? I'd be looking for a stair step down if we could get it, if it was a hard flush, or a rounding bottom. Don't love rounding bottoms. Or if there was a solid play against two-day VWAP with a pushback up through daily VWAP, that's a great trade too. So that's kind of what I'm thinking might happen. Bloom Energy is one that's on my list. I mean, I think it could really surge from here because it just had all these days of balance here, that it broke above on Friday. Again, I think it might try to pull in and then continue. So, but it is, as you can see, this blue line is daily EMA 12. So it's every touch of daily EMA 12 is holding, and it's not closing below. It's pushing back up. So it just did a 3-day push that got it up through this resistance. The question is, can it continue to push? or does it need a rest? And so I don't like chasing like this. Again, this would be something similar to Amazon would be nice, but I think because it just did break through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of sideways action, I could see it really going for it tomorrow. So we'll see. It does have this little rinky-dink higher low right here that you could play against too. So this, let's just look at it on the 60, just make sure it's not. Yeah, it's not a 60-minute, it's a 30-minute higher low. So doesn't have the same strength, I don't think, but 30-minute higher low, I'll put that on there just in case. NBIS, this, I've been starting to realize lately that I get too caught up in daily trends. So I look at this and I'm like, high, low, lower, high, lower, low. I'm like, daily downtrend, who's interested? But, thinking about it a little more open-minded, like, yes, it's a daily downtrend technically, but the move off of this low, so like it had this balance over here that it was trying to get above here forever, right? And then it gapped above it. But basically, you can look at all this sideways action. You can expect that it's going to continue to move up. And if you draw a fib on here from like, I don't know, maybe here to here, you see it's only done a 50% retrace. So this is technically a bull flag. So even though it's a daily downtrend, it's technically a bull flag after a breakout. So I was excited. I actually tried to get into it on this day here, and I had some profit, but I got stopped out. So I'm interested again. I think if it can reclaim, see, it was closing. It did set a higher low here on Friday. So this is probably a pretty clear hourly higher low. Let's just take a look. Yes, it is. And so, yeah, I'd be interested in this above that hourly higher low. We'll see how that opens. And then ETH has been super strong. This is ETH A, and it's worth taking a look at ETH USD really quick just to see. Yeah, so it pushed above the all-time high and is pulling back a little bit. I'm a little cautious just because Bitcoin was kind of retracing a bit this weekend, but that's not the end of the world for ETH. But look at this. Yeah, look, in the afternoon here on Sunday, it actually flushed below 111. I wonder what that says. Are futures open yet? No, they're not open yet. So it'll be really interesting to see where the futures open. Are futures pushing up or down? So that's something I'll look at a little bit later today as well, and that's going to drive my decision making around any ETH play. But I'm loving this chart. This chart looks amazing. I love the strength. PLTR, I'm really curious. Like, obviously the most likely scenario from here is a lower high on the daily time frame, but it's one of those names you kind of can't give up on this name. It just has a lot of staying power. But I had a friend in the community, Karam, in the chart guys, try to get a higher low here, and I was like, I don't know, it's coming into the declining 5-day. It's not as strong as everything else. It had this huge dump. I don't know. So it would be really interesting if this was a quick daily lower high and then lower, and then starts going for lower again. So I'm watching for that. If the market flushes, this could actually flip from my bullish trade idea to a bearish trade idea, because a flush below the low of Friday would be awesome for the quick confirmation of a daily lower high. So I'm actually going to flip this to that, which basically gold here just means it's not green, it's not red. It could go either way. And then I have Meta here, just because Meta did set this clear hourly higher low. You could play against that. I kind of like that. And just like I was saying with other names, like Meta had this killer earnings and it's been chopping sideways kind of all over the place. But I'm not too thrilled about big tech lately. You'll notice that NVIDIA isn't even on my list, and NVIDIA is always on my list. So yeah, it is what it is. And then the HMY, this looked like it was doing a cup with handle kind of deal here. So this is actually the big cup with a little handle. So let me just draw this so you can see clearly. So cup, handle, and maybe up, right? So that's kind of what I was looking at and interested in here, but it's not a name I normally trade. And I don't really know the character of the chart yet. I'm just kind of starting to watch it. Look at these crazy moves you get in pre-market. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. That's why it's lower on the list. Anyway, this list will get trimmed down quite a bit by tomorrow. Typically, I'm watching at the most 8 names on the open, and then that list gets filtered down to about 4 within the first 30 minutes, and then as things start to happen in the market, I might add some things to the list if there's things that are moving that I hadn't noticed before the open. Okay, that's it. Good luck trading tomorrow. Let's have a great week.